So submandibular region. Submandibular regions, we're talking over introduction, contents, extent, structure and relation, submandibular salivary gland, sublingual salivary gland, submandibular ganglions, and clinical anatomy. Clinical anatomy is very important to understand, and especially this is important for the surgical point of view. This submandibular region, we can see it extends from here, from this mylohyoid line here in the submandibular fossa, you can see here, and from here to this hyoid bone, you can see the hyoid bone. This structure is deeper and include floor of the mouth and root of the tongue. What it contains? It contains sublingual gland, submandibular gland and duct, mylohyoid muscle, geniohyoid muscle, extrinsic muscle of the tongue. This you can see lingual nerve, hypoglossal nerve, submandibular ganglion, and part of facial artery. These structure we can better visualize and least invasive when in compared to an extraoral approach. Extraorally, after removing here, we see the skin, then fascia, platysma. We see this region in the submandibular region, and we see that these suprahyoid muscle. Here is the hyoid bone. This area we see this one. This is white color. This is a hyoid bone, and here we see the suprahyoid muscle. This omohyoid, which is running obliquely. Then the two valleys of the digastric. This one is an anterior valley, and this one is the posterior valley. As well as this golden color is in stylohyoid. I will be talking regarding all its content except this suprahyoid muscle, because this has already been covered in the anterior triangle of the neck. So moving from this extraoral to intraoral, first removing the skin, the platysma and fascia, we see the layers are arranged is, first layer we see is this one digastric and stylohyoid. Second layer we see this mylohyoid. Third layer we see here is geniohyoid muscle. You can see geniohyoid and hyoglossus. And fourth layer here we see, it's not in this image, is from this genial tubercle is genioglossus, from this genial tubercle. So deeper structure in this submandibular region, this is that here we see the deeper structure in the submandibular regions are hyoglossus muscle and its related structure, genioglossus, just now we have talked about, styloglossus, which is not in this image, and the mucous membrane covering, as well as deep part of this submandibular gland. Here we can see this submandibular gland, this deep part of submandibular gland, sublingual gland, this sublingual gland, stylopharyngeus and middle constrictor, and as well as the part of glossopharyngeal nerve. They are deep structure in the submandibular region. When we talk about its extent, we see here this is a mylohyoid muscle. This is the posterior border of mylohyoid muscle here, and this is also, and these fibers are converged, and we see a raphe in median. In the median part, we see a raphe, and this is mylohyoid line here. So the extent, when we talk, it extends from this mylohyoid line to the fossa. Here all is in anterior, so it is, the extent is on the medial aspect of, on the medial surface of mandible over this mylohyoid line, and posteriorly here to the hyoid bone. Let's visualize the deeper structure before we go in detail. The deeper structure, first we see here, this is the genioglossus. This is the fan shape. You can see the fibers, how they are running, the direction of fibers. They are moving one, this is moving here, this one is moving downward, backward towards this hyoid, downward, and backward toward this hard bone. This another fiber, which is the hyoglossus. Green color is this one, the hyoglossus. This blue one is the genioglossus. This one is a styloglossus coming from the styloid process. Here we see how the fibers are running. So these are the deeper structure. We talk about the extrinsic muscle of the tongue, and further we see another deeper structure. We see here one. This is the stylohyoid ligament. Means this we see glossopharyngeal nerve. We see this is a deeper structure, glossopharyngeal nerve. The lingual artery. This one is a submandibular ganglion. So these are the some important deeper structure that we have seen just now. Now I will talk regarding the hyoglossus. Before this, let me draw the tongue. Let me draw this tongue first. This tongue, and we can see this hyoglossus here. This is an hyoglossus muscle. They originate from this hyoid bone, and from the hyoid bone, where? From this greater cornu. The greater cornu of the hyoid bone, you can see here, as well as lateral part of the body. This is the body. This is the body. I have written B for the body, and greater cornu, GC for greater cornu. So they originate from this, and the fiber, after originating, they run upward, and you can see the fiber then running upward and forward, and they get inserted. Here is the tongue. So they inserted on the side of the tongue. Here on the side of the tongue, between styloglossus and inferior longitudinal muscle of the tongue. So they insert on the side of this tongue, and the nerve supply is hypoglossal nerve. What is the action of the hyoglossus? The action of the hyoglossus is to depress the tongue. So they depress the tongue as well as they retract the tongue. Just see, I already have told you many times and explained you also how the movement takes place in the direction of the point of the origin. You know the concept. I've given you the concept. So this is the point of origin, and this is the point of insertion. So the direction will be like this way. Like this way. The direction will be like this way. So what it will do first, it can depress the tongue, and it can retract the tongue. The protruded tongue can be retracted by this hyoglossus. So superficial structure in the relation of this hyoglossus are styloglossus. You can see the styloglossus muscle, lingual nerve. This lingual nerve which is coming from this lingual nerve, this suspended submandibular ganglion. Here we see this submandibular gland and its duct. You can see its duct. See, then this is hypoglossal nerve. So these are the important superficial structure which are running over the hyoglossal muscle. Important structure which are running deep to hyoglossus muscle are this stylohyoid ligament, glossopharyngeal nerve, lingual artery, and this important muscle, this genioglossus. So these are the important structure running deep to hyoglossus. Another muscle which is not in this image here on the posterior aspect, deeper here in the posterior aspect, is the which is deeper to this is stylopharyngeus. This is important for your examination point of view also, as a one FAQ over it generally ask what are the structure deeper to hyoglossus. Then that time you have to answer all these important one. Genioglossus, this is a very important muscle to talk. This is very important for your examination as well as for the clinical. This genioglossus, this is an extrinsic muscle of the tongue, and this here you can see this in the blue color. Here we see this is a genioglossus. This is fan shaped extrinsic muscle, and this is present between this one, this geniohyoid and hyoglossus. So it is present between these two muscles, and this muscle is life-saving and also known as safety muscle of the tongue. So I will tell you how. See, the fibers of these muscles, they are oriented in a fan shape, and you can see the fibers. This is the upper fiber. This one is the middle fibers, and here is the lower fiber. So the fibers, they are directed. The middle fibers, they are directed. You can see they're directed upward, whereas the upper fibers are directed first upward here, then forward. So this middle fiber forming the main dorsum of the tongue, you can see, whereas the lower fiber here, because they are directed backward and downward toward this hyoid bone, to this hyoid bone. So these are the point of insertion. Well, where we just look at this point. This is the point of origin. This is the upper genial tubercle. Make it in the circle. This one. This is the upper genial tubercle. This is the point of the origin. Whereas we see the nerve supply. The nerve supply is the 12th cranial nerve. Action. Its action is to protrude the tongue. This is the point of the origin. So the direction of the force will be toward in this direction. So as a result of this, it protrudes the tongue as well as it holds the tongue not to fall in pharynx. So say suppose if I cut this, if I was from here, from this point of origin, what will happen? So as a result of this, this tongue will fall. So when this tongue will fall, it will cause the respiratory arrest. So that's why I said this is a safety muscle of the tongue. Important structure superficial to this genioglossus are submandibular duct. You can see some in the green color. This submandibular duct, this lingual nerve, this hypoglossal nerve, and part of the lingual artery, and sublingual gland. So these are superficial to this genioglossus muscle, whereas inferior to this is geniohyoid muscle. Next important muscle is styloglossus. So this styloglossus here, it's originated from this styloid process here and from the stylomandibular ligament. So this styloglossus, this run here downward, forward, and split into the fibers, two fiber, one fiber, this, another fiber, this fiber, it merges, which is the inferior one, it merges with the hyoglossus. You can see it merges with the hyoglossus, and whereas this other one, which is known as longitudinal fiber, inferior longitudinal fiber, this run to the side of the tongue and attaches to the side of the tongue and till the end tip of the tongue. So this is the point of the insertion of the styloglossus, and its nerve supply is the same one, 12th cranial nerve. Now action. So this is the point of the origin. This is the point of the origin. So at the point of the origin, the direction of force is toward this. So what will happen? What it will do? It will retract the protruded tongue, as well as it can, this styloglossus, it move the tongue upward. So these are the important function. Let's talk about sublingual gland. So you can see here this sublingual gland. This is somewhat in almond shape, and the weight is hardly 3 to 4 grams. You can see this sublingual gland. This is located in the floor of the mouth, and it is between this mucous membrane and this mylohyoid muscle. So when we see the relation of this, so this is an anterior aspect and this is the posterior aspect, this is the superior surface and this one is the inferior. So this anterior aspect, this is, and here this is the mandible. So here is the symphysis menti. So the anterior one is facing toward the symphysis menti. Here you can see, and you know this mandible, when you see in its anterior aspect, anteriorly the mandible is means it's converging. So anteriorly here, what happened? Both sides, means this is, say suppose this is of the left side of sublingual gland, so the right side of the sublingual gland also. So both, they are very much close, approximate to each other on this anterior aspect. Clear? Means even they can fuse also, means very much close with each other. So this thing to be kept in mind. And when we see its posterior aspect here, it is very much closer to this submandibular gland. Clear? So posterior is closer to submandibular gland. and on its superior surface here, it is covered by the mucous membrane, and this you see, this is the fold. Okay, this is the fold, and this is somewhat raised. You can see this is somewhat raised. This is known as sublingual fold. And below to this here is, on its inferior aspect, is the mylohyoid muscle. So superior and inferior aspect is clear, anterior aspect and posterior aspects are clear. Now about its lateral aspect and the medial aspect. So you just see, this is the mandible and here is the fossa. Okay, so here is the fossa in this mandible is known as sublingual fossa. So laterally it is related to sublingual fossa. Now the turn of the medial aspect. See this here, this is, here is symphysis membrane, here is the genial tubercle. Okay, here the anterior genial tubercle. From this anterior genial tubercle, genioglossus muscle originating, and it's running in this way and inserting in the tongue, that already been explained here. So what happened? So on the medial aspect, it is related with what? Genioglossus. Clear? So here you see at this point where I'm focusing the pointer of the mouse, you see just a small processes are emerging out. These small processes which are emerging out, they are the duct. They are the sublingual duct. So around 10 to 20 ducts, and these ducts open in this floor of the mouth. Clear? In the floor of the mouth. Now one thing more, this is the submandibular gland, and here you see this is the duct. This is submandibular duct. Actually this submandibular duct, it runs, let me draw. So this submandibular duct which is here, it runs somewhat like this. It runs somewhat like this. So what happened? In its anterior aspect, these small ducts open in this, they converge and they open in this submandibular duct. So these small ducts of the sublingual gland, which I said they converge to open, they form a single duct. So this single duct that open in this submandibular duct, this duct is called, means the duct which is associated, that is for the sublingual gland, that duct is called the Bartholin duct. So now we will talk about its blood supply, then its lymphatic drainage and nerve supply. This nerve supply. So the blood supply by the sublingual and submental arteries, whereas the lymphatic drainage the lymph that will be drained into submental and submandibular nodes, whereas the nerve supply is same as that of the submandibular gland. Clear? We are going to talk about the nerve supply in detail in the submandibular gland, so there we will discuss about it. Here I want to show you in this image that the sublingual fold, you can see here, this is the sublingual fold with the opening of sublingual duct. Just now we have talked regarding the sublingual fold, that here you can see with a small opening, there are the small opening, a small fine opening you can see. So these are the opening of sublingual duct. So submandibular gland, this submandibular gland is very much important for your examination as well as clinical point of view. Here this is the submandibular gland, this is walnut in appearance, and this gland is somewhere around about 10 to 22 grams in the weight, and this is mixed gland, but it is more in serous in nature, and this gland is present in this digastric triangle, and you know this is the digastric triangle here. So this is the digastric triangle, and digastric triangle is formed by, this is the base of the mandible, between the base of the mandible and this posterior belly as well as anterior belly of the digastric. This gland has got two parts, one this part which is superficial and this part is the deep, this mylohyoid muscle. So this is the posterior aspect, this is the posterior end of this mylohyoid. So this mylohyoid is present in between these deep part and the superficial part. This superficial part we can see, let me get the cursor here. So this superficial part, it's got a two end, one this end which is the anterior end, another is this end is the posterior end, and this superficial has got a three surfaces rather to
say pore surface. Actually, the pore surface, I will show you where it is the pore surface. First, see the surface. This surface is the inferior surface. This is the inferior surface. This is the which is facing toward the mandible is the lateral surface, and this surface, which is facing medially, is the medial surface. And this surface, what I am saying, what I was just I said, this is the deep one. So this is the deep surface, which is facing toward this mylohyoid muscle. This anterior end here, this anterior end extend up to the this anterior berry of the digastric, whereas this posterior end extend here. Let me draw that stylomandibular ligament. Stylomandibular ligament. So this posteriorly extend up to the stylomandibular ligament, and this stylomandibular ligament here it dividing, but rather it is separating the parotid gland, this parotid gland here, parotid one, and the submandibular gland. And this stylomandibular gland is formed by the deep cervical fascia. I will show you where the deep cervical fascia, because this deep cervical fascia is covering this gland. So I will show you. So the part, superficial part, just now you have seen, this is the deep part. This is the deep part of submandibular gland, and this is the submandibular duct. This is known as Watson duct. Here you can see it's much better. This is the submandibular. This is the deep part of submandibular gland, and you can see this duct. Now we will talk about the superficial means relation, and we will see the inferior surface also. So see, this is the inferior surface. Just now we have talked about it, and this inferior surface, when you will move from superficial to deep, first we see what is the skin, then superficial fascia, then platysma, then this deep cervical fascia. This let me draw more. This is the deep cervical fascia, and this deep cervical fascia is split into the two parts. One part which covers the inferior surface. This covers the inferior surface as a whole, means covering all. This is the deep part. This is the deep cervical fascia covering the inferior surface, and then one part which is that has gone splitted here. So this part it move and cover the medial surface here. Cover the medial surface of the submandibular gland. This is related by, you can see, facial vein and this nerve, which is a branch of facial nerve, and submandibular lymph node. This lateral surface is related with the facial artery. You can see how the facial artery crossing this base of the mandible. So related to the facial artery. Here you can clearly see this is very well represented here with all the structure. You can clearly see what the structures are in the relation. So here you can see in this blue color, this lateral surface is related with the submandibular fossa. You can see this is the submandibular fossa. Then we have seen the inferior surface. Then about the medial surface. This is the medial surface. So medial surface is related with this important muscle. This is a mylohyoid. This is the mylohyoid, and this hyoglossus is the hyoglossus. This medial surface is also related with the styloglossus. Here we see is also related with the styloglossus, lingual nerve, hypoglossal nerve, and submandibular ganglion. Now this deep part is in between this mylohyoid muscle, and this hyoglossus muscle. Let me draw the hyoglossus in this side. So this one, say this one is the hyoglossus. So it moves like this, as this hyoglossus is going in the tongue. So it is between these two muscles, and when we talk it is related to these two muscles, then we will see this thing in this image. Here we will see So this is the deep part. Let me encircle. This is the deep part of submandibular gland, and we can see here, this is the muscle which is mylohyoid. So medially is the lateral, so laterally is this, so this is the lateral aspect, laterally is the mylohyoid, and medially this one, which is the hyoglossus. Clear? Now superiorly is the lingual nerve. We can see the lingual nerve is present in the lingual nerve superiorly, and submandibular ganglion. This is in yellow color here, this submandibular ganglion, whereas below by hypoglossal nerve. We can see this submandibular gland on its anterior aspect. It is very close to the posterior end of the sublingual gland. This is sublingual gland, which is very close to this posterior sublingual gland. So this submandibular duct, this duct emerged from the superficial part of the submandibular gland, and from the superficial part where from the deep surface. So this is the deep surface. This is the deep surface. It emerged from the deep surface of superficial part of submandibular gland, and then this duct is some about 5. It moves forward and upward. We can see how it is moving, and this passes. You can see. This passes between the sublingual gland, and here in the floor of the mouth it open on sublingual papilla. So each side, this is of the left side, so it open on the left side of the papilla. So from the right side, open on the right side of sublingual papilla. This duct has got a very close relation with the lingual nerve. You can see here, see, this is the lingual nerve and this is the submandibular duct. So this sublingual gland, this sublingual nerve, it crosses from its lateral aspect. Now you can see, then it move over the duct, submandibular duct, and again it turn and ascend medially. So it is winding around. Here we can see sublingual papilla. This is the sublingual papilla here. So here the submandibular duct open in the floor of the mouth. Now about the blood supply. It is supplied by the branches of facial and the lingual artery. Venous drainage from the facial vein and the lingual vein, and finally drain into the internal jugular vein. Remember, it can ask in the examination how it's drained and what is the blood supply. So important for the examination. So it drain into the internal jugular vein. Lymphatic drainage is by the submandibular and jugulo-digastric lymph node, whereas the nerve supply is by the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Whereas this parasympathetic we see via facial, then the branch of this cauda tympani, then to the lingual nerve, then to submandibular ganglion, then postganglionic fiber through this postganglionic fibers. Submandibular ganglion, we can see here, this is the submandibular, this is the submandibular ganglion. It is fusiform in shape. So this submandibular ganglion is connected by this lingual nerve. Though it is connected by the lingual nerve, but it is functionally associated by the cauda tympani, which is a branch of a facial nerve, and having a parasympathetic innervation. So this I have explained you during the functional component. So it has got both parasympathetic and sympathetic roots. So we will see how they are associated with sympathetic and parasympathetic. Before this, we will see here. Let me have this pointer and see this fusiform submandibular ganglion. This rest over here, this muscle, which is hyoglossus muscle. Okay, so it rests over it, and we can see here the lingual nerve root. This this lingual nerve, this anterior aspect, and here the posterior aspect. It's connected by the lingual nerve. Here is the submandibular ganglia. Just focus here. This is the submandibular ganglion here. So in the pons, superior salivatory nucleus, in the pons, the preganglionic fibers, which are parasympathetic, they belong to which functional component? They belong to general, visceral, efferent. So these preganglionic fibers, they get associated with this lingual nerve, and these fiber in this submandibular ganglion gives postganglionic fibers which innervate the submandibular gland. This is the submandibular gland. Clear? So they are structurally associated with the lingual nerve, but functionally they are associated with this secretomotor parasympathetic. Okay. Similar condition with the sublingual gland. So here at the relay, this postganglionic fibers, they innervate the sublingual gland. Whereas the sympathetic system, which is working at the spinal cord, at T1 segment of the spinal cord, the fibers here, they go and round up around the facial artery, and then here they innervate to the submandibular gland. With one connection and another connection here in the submandibular gland, they innervate the sublingual gland. And we can see here this submandibular ganglion is suspended by the two root of the lingual nerve. Here is the one root, which is the anterior root, and here is the posterior root. Space infection, these lead to cause Ludwig angina, which is a life-threatening cellulitis. So this space infection, three spaces. Let me draw and explain also this regarding. First, we see this sublingual space, which is deeper compared to submental and submandibular space. So this submandibular space is the space here in the digastric triangle, whereas this submental space is in submental, here in the submental triangle, which is between this anterior belly of digastric and median raphe. So here is the median raphe. So in between these, in submental space, this is submental space. Whereas the sublingual space, this sublingual space is seen in the anterior part of the floor of the mouth, and above this is mylohyoid muscle. So it is present here, this sublingual space above the mylohyoid muscle. Any source of infection which entered in the floor of the mouth, it can either be due to the faulty tooth extraction, any implant surgery, or needle puncture. So if any infections in this floor of the mouth lead to spread the infection in these following spaces. So the infection spread all in this region. As a result, the patient complains of the swelling with the tenderness in the region. The patient complains fever. So these are the complaint the patients do. This swelling increase in such extent that it compresses the airways. So it leads to difficulty in breathing, and this condition is Ludwig angina. In the such cases, the treatment modality for this is incision and the drainage. Submandibular gland, which is secreting saliva through submandibular duct, sometimes this saliva, the content of the saliva changes to such an extent that the calcification start in that, which lead to cause the obstruction of this duct. This is the sialolithiasis, and this can be examined through the sonography. Palpation of submandibular gland and lymph node associated with submandibular gland can be done by placing the first three fingers below the base of the mandible in the digastric triangle and index finger in the floor of the mouth near the mylohyoid line to feel the submandibular gland. The carcinoma of the tongue has a huge potential to spread in submandibular gland. This is also palpated by this method. Injury to the spine of sphenoid damage the chorda tympani, which is a branch of facial nerve, lead to hamper the secretomotor function of submandibular gland. This is how we finishes the topic of the submandibular region. Thank you.